Hi there, my name is Greg Smith. This is my video number 2, option 1 for participating video for Lamar University. Just as an introduction to the participation video, I chose option 1, which was to interview a cross-section of faculty and staff members regarding their perspective on our campus vision in certain areas. And in participation, we decided that I was going to interview and talk to 2 different members of campus as well as our athletic coordinator on campus. So we did 2 separate interviews, one with our CTE director, which is Michelle Duhan. She's also my campus mentor for this program. We also chose the senior assistant principals named Michael Curl, who's extremely well respected and really a young talent as far as I'm concerned, as far as up and coming principals. I think he's going to be pretty high quality and sought after here in the next couple of years. We did both of these videos also again with Coach Guerreri, who's our athletic coordinator, athletic director on campus. So we discussed each of these different questions with both of them separately and participated together in order to get the most interaction between everybody at the tables. So I will go ahead and play those videos on this option 1, then I'll reflect on them afterwards. Thank you.
Pressing this button?
Yeah. All right, here we are doing our option 1 participating video. We're here with Mrs. Duhan. She's our CTE specialist, content specialist, and Health Science Academy leader on our campus. We're also here with Coach Guerreri, our campus athletic director and head football coach. So we're going to talk about and participate in this cross-section of staff and faculty members regarding our perspectives on the campus vision in certain areas. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I think we're going to ask Ms. Duhan the first question, about how does the campus acknowledge, recognize, and celebrate those who implement strategies in support of our campus vision?
Okay, well, first of all, this should be part of your school culture. It should be something that's done on a regular basis, whether it's through email, through meetings. If you don't recognize your teachers, you don't let them know that they're doing a good job, that they're on the right track, they're going to become stagnant. Morale is going to plummet, and you will not reach your goals.
What do you think our current morale is on our campus?
Honestly, I think it's pretty low.
I agree.
I agree too.
I personally think the reason being the scheduling right now.
Scheduling, the teachers are just, they're not, it's not that they're being defiant, but they're just not happy with some of the things that's going on. Now, is that leadership? Or is that administration?
I think it's twofold. I think the schedule is what it is. That the teachers really liked the schedule last year, but we can't do that. So that's one of those things you just have to get over and move on. The other thing, I think it comes back to that question about recognizing your teachers when they're doing a good job, when they're doing what you want them to do, and they're excelling with it. You've got to do those pats on the back. You got to let them know, hey, you're doing a good job. I appreciate your time, your effort. I witnessed a teacher respond to an email when the principal sent out an email saying, hey, we appreciate all you're doing, that we know you're working hard. She lit up. I mean,
Sure.
She was just, oh my God, Mr. Foxworth just sent us this awesome email about, we're doing a good job. He appreciates us. That was like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been, that's something that has to be done. And I know everyone's under a lot of pressure, and we're just doing everything we can to keep our head above water. Right. But we have to remember the teachers are on that firing line.
Yeah.
And we have to support them and do the little things. Give them a June Day here and there. Give them something to boost that morale. Right. And then they'll do everything for you.
And as much as we hear about negativity from parents and students and phone calls we receive that we need a lot of positive things happening
Oh,
with our teachers
absolutely.
and administration. I also believe that a huge part is that because we're a multi-school district, we just can't do what we want to do. Even though we want to be site-based, the other two high schools have an input also. So with the schedule, I believe that if we were the only school, a one-school horse town, that it'd be completely different as to our schedule. But because we're a multi-school different, the other high schools have say-sos too. So therefore,
Absolutely.
I think that's been our
administration
biggest
is involved.
problem because earlier on, I think we were the only school that accepted the new schedule.
Correct.
And now that it keeps getting worse and worse, now we're starting to fall down that same pipeline and get just negative as the other two schools.
Right. The other two schools are
Yeah.
talking, you know, the teachers are talking and they're getting with other teachers, and then now it's kind of coming over here, their culture and their morale that was low at the beginning of the year and ours was high, I think is now kind of transpiring over to our school too.
Going back to the recognition part real quick, the only two things I can think of on our campus that actually recognizes our teachers is the STARS Teacher of the Week from our dance team and Teacher of the Year at the end of the year. Is there anything else we have?
No. I have been in districts that we did, and I know GCM does this, and I stole it from them and brought it to my last district, and it was a pats on the back, and it was administrators or other teachers recognizing their peers for doing good things or going above and beyond, and that went a long way. I know my husband came home several times, and it was like a school kid. Hey,
Right.
I got the certificate. I was recognized at admin, and you know him.
Yeah.
You know, just to see him light up that he was appreciated for doing something went a long way, and it wasn't much more than a candy bar and a certificate
Right.
saying, hey, we recognize that you're doing a
Sure.
good job.
Well, even so, you know how as teachers, you like something in your box. I mean, when you get a little candy in your box, when you get a certificate for a luncheon or a jeans day or whatever it may be in your box, I mean, it's a pretty neat gift no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I have been in districts too where you receive something at least once every other week or once a month. There's something, or even Christmas bonuses. There's
Right.
something going on
Right.
for appreciation.
And it's those little things. And I know sometimes it's, some people are just naturally nurturing, and, they're really good at recognizing accomplishments and just being appreciative. Not everyone has that. And, I think that sometimes it's just everybody do your job. Just do
Right.
your job and we'll
I
all
agree.
get there. But that's going to kill them.
It's a long year.
It makes
Yeah.
a long year.
It's a
You
long
should
year to
do
have
your
that
job
mentality.
anyway, but you need the pat on the back.
Yeah.
You do. You need
Yeah.
to be recognized, and that's everybody, not just the same people each time. or-
Right.
that's the other.
Absolutely.
That's the other issue too. A lot of times, we as educators or administrative people recognize the teachers that are doing a great job. Well, that may be because they're AP classes and they handpick their kids, or whatever it might be. Their STAR scores are real high. Well, it could be because of the clientele in the classroom too.
But that's why you
Yeah.
need to go back, even if you have to go back as far as even looking at data. And I know
Right.
the teachers hate looking at data, but if we're comparing, if we did a CBA and we're looking at how we performed, it's not just that score. If you break it down to individual
Right.
questions and said, "Hey, Miss Jones, you did an excellent job on teaching
Right.
this. What did you do? Because the rest of us sucked at it.
Right.
What did you do that was so good?" She may not be strong everywhere else, but she rocks that out.
Right.
So let her share, let her shine a little
And that's
bit.
where the department heads need to also recognize that and see that, and during the PLC meetings and all that's collaboration is going on, that each teacher's with data is
Right.
doing that too.
And recognizing that not every teacher is strong at everything,
Right.
and really playing on each other's strengths.
Right. Okay, second question. How are these contributions and achievements effectively communicated to the staff, students, and community? I think we're hitting on everything. as
We
go
are.
through.
Sadly, we don't have the faculty meetings that we did in the past. With PLCs, everybody really just goes to their area, and there's not one big gathering like we've had in
Right.
the past. But it could be done. We could work that in.
Right.
But we do need to recognize during parent meetings. We have a parent meeting coming up in January. We need to say, hey, these are some great things that we're doing at our school. These are our strengths. We need to look at our district communication. You know, we've got the website where we can call in our media people, and they can post it on the newsletter, the news of the day. We can contact Baytown Sun. We can get some information out that way too.
Right. You know, I was when we talk about the faculty meetings, being the athletic director here, I've lost touch with the entire staff. I've had to go to department meetings to give my speech about grade checks and eligibility, credits, this and that, or by email because we haven't had a faculty meeting. Well, that's the time where I like to stand up in front of everybody to show, you know, what I'm here for, what the coaches are here for, how we can help. I haven't had that opportunity.
No,
And
so
so
it would
that's
be
tough.
nice if we could set aside. I know it's PLC, and we want to respect this is their planning time. But if we set aside 15 minutes
Exactly
and say,
what I
let's all
said.
get together and
Well, that was the whole
First
concept
15
of
minutes.
PLC when it first came out. I don't know how many years ago everybody started yelling PLC time that was incorporated into the school day as opposed to having it after school. So then everybody was so happy, okay, we don't have to stay for after school meetings, but now they get mad when they take away the 10, 15 minutes. Oh, well, we have to have this time. Well, you really...
well, and I think what that came down to is last year or in the past we've had it every week,
right.
and so we've had more time, and now it's just that
We
hour
got
and
spoiled.
a half twice a month,
Right.
and so I think that has made a huge difference.
I still think it's a great deal.
I think it's wonderful to have it during the school day. You're not having to meet after school once a week or once a month or once every 2 weeks. The issue is the instructional minutes. Because of the instructional minutes, now you have to have so many minutes for PLC time. And I know that the administration, the higher-ups, want to make sure that, well, it's PLC time. It's not a mandated faculty meeting because that cuts into the PLC time. But I completely agree that we still could start off our PLC with a 15 or 20-minute faculty meeting, you know, and then break off and go to our groups.
Because, and keeping in mind, you know, the core is so different than everyone else. This is when they're planning. This is when they're doing their common assessments, and that's been new. So they're having to plan those assessments out in advance so they can plan their instruction. So if they're only meeting twice a month, you know, and they have a common planning period, but again, that takes up their conference time.
Right.
And so I understand their frustrations.
So when we talk about communication on that question, it's pretty much the leadership of the campus having to go to individual meetings, department meetings, number one, for the principal to convey his message to the department heads. Then the department heads have to convey their message to the teachers under them, rather than us doing it in a whole setting.
Right. And a lot gets lost in translation.
Exactly right.
And so, you know, I admire a leader that can handle things through email. You know, nothing's worse than going to a meeting that could have been handled by an
Agreed.
email.
Don't meet to meet.
Or to plan the next meeting.
Right.
You know, be respectful of everyone's time, but also sometimes you need to come together for that team building. You know, last year when we started, or was it last year or the year before, the Minute to Win It, you know, it was just a team building where we came together as a group, as a faculty, to bond and to laugh together
And laugh at a certain soccer coach that was up there.
That's right. Camaraderie.
That's it.
You know,
and that goes
becoming
a
a
long
family.
way.
Becoming a family, and that's exactly right. You know, patting each other on the back, having each other's backs.
And knowing who we are.
Right.
No, you know, just
Right.
like you said, you
There-
don't get to see everyone.
I don't get to see everyone. I'm still meeting new teachers this year when I'm by email, and that's not good enough because we need, you know, communication in person.
I agree.
I think considering the topic here, some of that should probably be in that mission statement or in that campus vision as well then. Considering all this conversation stems from what is our campus vision, which we really don't know.
Right. Right. And, you know, the vision that was communicated to us at the beginning dealt with student success.
College ready.
And getting college ready.
And that's what I thought our vision was until
Right.
we pulled this up. The coach pulled it up on the mission statement, which doesn't have one word about college ready.
Doesn't talk
Right.
about college readiness. It talks about making productive citizens, which I understand too,
Right.
but still college readiness.
And
So,
are all these meetings what needs to happen for that vision to occur?
you know, and I think in all this, the master's program and everything that we're doing and everything that you've done, it's all about effective communication. Everything I've written about in all my papers and all these things comes back to communication. You know, collaboration, communication, making sure people understand. And so if you don't have that, it's there's going to be
There's a
something
breakdown.
wrong in the chain. There's going to be a
Yeah.
breakdown. Correct.
So I think the next question is, how does our campus use innovative thinking, risk-taking, or failures as a learning experience in order to promote our campus vision?
Okay, well, you know the definition of insanity, about doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I think we've done that quite a bit
I
in the
agree.
past. This year, we've taken some steps that I think were pretty innovative. We're the only campus right now has implemented an instructional coach, a literacy coach. We've recognized that language arts is our low area with STAR. And so we've taken a teacher who was very successful in working with the STAR students, the ones that needed the remediation. She had great success, and we've made her our literacy coach. So she's working with all levels.
I didn't even know we were doing that.
Yes,
Truth be
we
told.
are. Miss Clement.
Huh.
Yep.
She is out of the classroom.
I knew she wasn't in the classroom, and honestly, I never knew why.
She works with teachers. She helps them with new ideas. And a lot of it is bonding with the students, having that connection with the students, and she's very good at that.
The relationship.
Sometimes the teachers are a little resistant because they think that they've done a good job. And for the most part, they have.
Mhm.
But it's recognizing I've got areas that I need to work
Sure.
on, and she has something to offer. And also understanding, no, we're not sending her in to say she knows all, but she knows a lot.
Right.
And using her as a peer, like a peer tutor you would with a student. Let her go in and model some good best practices for the teachers. We're also doing something that the other campuses aren't doing in our district, and that we've got a co-teaching model.
Right. That's
The
very
other-
important here.
The other two campuses have decided to let those EOC course teachers have 2 conference periods so they can get additional PLC, they can get
Right.
additional
wow.
planning. We've decided to take that period away, and we've got a co-teaching model.
Co-teachers.
So you've got 2 teachers in a classroom of struggling students, and it's a work in progress, because you don't want one teacher teaching and one just walking around, managing behavior, or that other one sitting in the back on the phone or grading papers or running errands. It's got to be, I'm teaching, then you're playing off what I'm saying, and this back and
Got to be
forth.
collaboration.
So they don't know who the real teacher is.
Right.
It should be that I've just got 2 people in the room and I can ask either one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm the boss in here and you're just my helper. So we're working, and we're using that as a professional development model. So we've got new teachers or new to high school teachers that we're pairing up with some more experienced teachers that have good strategies. And rather than going outside and missing instructional time, we're using our strengths. We're using our talents in-house to where the teachers can get that professional development. We're using it, just lost my train of thought. Anyway, they're able to model and learn some good strategies from their co-teachers, and
Right.
we're able to, and that gives some recognition, because I loved how Miss Clement went into one teacher and said, "You did a really good job with this," and that teacher was expecting her to offer a suggestion, but it was just, "You did a great job. Can you share this with the other teachers?"
Right.
And that did a lot about with the relationship building with the teachers, as well as helping that teacher become a leader.
Yeah.
My wife's the instructional coach for science in Clear Creek ISD for 2 junior highs. Now, CCISD is a huge school district, but they started the instructional coaching. And her, like you said, her biggest beef is that some teachers aren't responsive to getting new ideas.
Right.
And again, she was put into this position because she did a very good job in her classroom setting in biology. But all of it's data driven.
Exactly.
And ELA is low scoring, probably across the state in most schools anyway, but we are low here, so there has to be better ways to do things. And teachers, we've got to get over the hump and past the issue that we're already doing it right. Well, not with our data. There's
Exactly.
something that can be done better. And by pulling a teacher that's done very well here, I'm sure her scores were out of this world, and now putting her in a position to help other teachers.
That's right.
And it's not that they're telling you how to do it, It's, hey, let's come up with new ways. Like you said before, you may be good at this on this TEKS, but this other teacher does it real well on this part of the TEKS. So why can't we, cross-reference and figure out the best way to do it all?
And we've even tried reaching out to other districts. Hey, you did well, with ELA. What's your secret? Sometimes the teachers are like, well, it's their clientele. They just got better students. And I always ask them, or do they have better strategies?
Correct.
They may have good students, but maybe they're doing something that we're not.
Right.
And so it's worth that conversation. It's worth that school visit.
Right.
Even to go see what they're doing.
Right.
Now, if they're doing the same things we're doing and they're getting better results, sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
The clientele.
But either way, whether it is or not, you still have to try and find new ways.
We have what we
right.
have.
Exactly. That's exactly
And
right.
so that's not changing. So
No.
we've got to figure out a way
Right.
to pull them along.
Right. Okay. Yeah, the next question is, how does the campus vision impact morale? I think we've talked about that a little bit.
We
anyway.
have talked about that. I think we've got to come up with, and I can't read my notes, a reward system for reaching milestones. We need to set some goals, and I think we're lacking a little bit there.
Right.
Set some attainable goals that we can reach in a short period of time. And if we attain those goals, whether it's your students scoring so well on a particular assessment or attendance, throw those bones out to the teachers, whether it's a Gene Day or the socials after school. I know I've heard our administrators comment that, the morale is much better when we're having our Coke Float Day or the ice cream Sundays. Throw those little things out there. I know there's another school in our district right now. They're doing 12 days of Christmas, and they're allowing their teachers to dress up, wear jeans, wear slippers, different things through the next couple of weeks. And I witnessed this just yesterday. It was interesting that we're talking about this. Teacher usually complains about her principal. And she said, I'm going to say something nice about my principal today. And I'm like, really? And she said, yeah, we're doing this 12 days of Christmas, and we get to wear jeans every day as long as we wear the assigned color, and we're going to get to wear slippers one day. And this teacher, typically in the afternoons when I talk to her, is downtrodden and feeling beat up, even though she's a very good teacher. But really appreciated the fact that they were recognizing, hey, you've worked hard. Let me do something for you.
Right. The morale and the climate and culture of a campus and of a group or program or athletics or whatever it is so important.
And send out those emails. How long does it take to type out an email?
Right.
Hey, y'all are doing a good job. Appreciate. I noticed your scores.
Right.
That y'all really did well in this area.
Right.
Let them know that you're looking.
Right.
And that you're that you notice what they do.
I think that also can be done by the administration too. I think the administration doesn't take the time and effort to commend the schools as to what they're doing well, not just from our head principal and assistant, but from our superintendent. And I think that, and I know they try and get around and this and that, but there's a lot of things that we do that's very, very good for our kids. But we need to hear it. We need to see it.
We do.
Almost everything in the newspaper now is negative. And so there needs to be positives, whether it's a teacher doing this or one of our kids' groups doing this or that, or in the community, or I know like Coach Smith for basketball, takes a street and y'all do trash pickup, things like that. That needs to be promoted.
Absolutely.
Because that is about morale and culture and climate of the campus too.
And part of it's
important.
us. We've got to contact the right people, but do you know to contact the right people?
Right.
You can call when you're picking up trash, Passmore, and they'll send a photographer out, and they'll do a little article, and it's just, but those types of things need to be communicated to the teachers so they know, you've got to self-promote.
Right. And I think it also needs to be everyone, 100%. If one teacher's left out, I don't think that's good. I think somehow we all need to be recognized in some way or patted on the back somehow, because we're all in this together.
Oh, there's a couple of them need to go home anyway. I'm not sure I agree with patting every last one of them.
No,
There's some that don't need to be patted because they need to go somewhere else.
Right. This profession's hard
But then
enough.
take care of it.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Don't let someone just exist and not give them another thought. go take care of it.
Yeah.
If they need to go home, then encourage that.
Right. The bottom line is
Mandate it.
we're here for the kids.
That's
And I think
exactly
some
right.
of the professionals in our career have forgotten that we're here
Right.
for these kids.
And if they're hurting kids, and I don't mean physically,
Right.
if they're hurting them by not giving them the education that they need, they're not building them up,
Right.
they're negative with the kids all the time, then we need to do something
Right.
about that, because you'll never reach or attain your mission, your vision,
No.
if you've got that poison. And you,
That's right. It is
It
a poison
is.
and cancer. You're exactly right. And it's about building relationships. But like we've talked about, the relationships still need to be built from administration and the leadership of campus down to the teachers too. Because we need to feel that we're doing the right job.
Well,
too.
you've got to model what you expect them to do. It's just like teaching your kids.
Right. True.
Good deal.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
much.
Time.
Perfect. Here we are with Mr. Curl. Mr. Curl is our senior assistant principal on campus. Very well respected on campus. Does a great job. We're also here with Coach Guerreri, again, our athletic director and head football coach on campus. This is for a video participation. Option number 1, interviewing the cross-section of staff and faculty members regarding perspective on campus vision. We had already talked in our previous video a little bit about our campus vision and college ready, as opposed to what it states online in our mission statement, which we'll probably talk about here in this video a little more so than our last one. We are going to ask Mr. Curl a couple questions and talk about them. Our first one is going to be, how does our campus acknowledge, recognize, and celebrate those who implement our strategies that support our campus vision on our campus?
Let me start off by saying I appreciate you guys coming out. I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you thinking enough to come and ask me these questions, and I'm glad to help. As far as our acknowledgement and recognition of our campus vision, I believe our professional learning community time that we have on campus allows us time to celebrate and progress towards the vision. This is a purely collaborative time that we have set up for our teachers and staff. We meet by team or department. We invite people from campus, people from off campus, administrators from around the district to come out and share in the successes and our areas of focus, so they can have a good vision of what we're doing here at Sterling High School to provide any feedback that they may have from an outside perspective to help develop our mission and our vision.
Is the vision, here's my question for you, is the vision being promoted, because we really don't have faculty meetings, that's what we talked about with Ms. Duhon, is it being promoted by the administrators to the department heads, and then the department heads are promoting that vision during the PLC meetings? I mean, our vision of college readiness and things like that, is that truly being pushed and promoted, throughout the school year?
I believe it is. Our big thing this year, of course, has been the college ready and getting the 12 college hours for the kids to come in. We have those things verbalized specifically during the few faculty meetings that we have had.
Right.
And when the content specialists meet with the administration, that's one of the things that we constantly talk about. We've got our 3 big things for the whole campus: being collaborative, being goal focused, and being adaptable. And the next thing is these kids having these 12 hours and being college ready and getting out of here with some college hours. And that mission goes out to the campus whenever we get together. We always try to verbalize that. We've verbalized it to the content specialists, who in turn take that back to PLC meetings. In some areas, like science, I do a good portion of leading those meetings when it comes to the PLC time. So I always make sure that we hit those 3 main focuses that we have from our building principal and our vision of the college readiness, and making sure that everyone knows that this is something we want to talk about. We want to discuss this. We don't want kids running around saying, I didn't know I could get college hours being here at Sterling High School. We want to say it enough times to where it just becomes ingrained in the culture here.
Do you feel like it is ingrained?
I feel like it's on its way.
Okay.
I think that the people who are already on board with getting these kids college ready and making sure they take advantage of dual credit and take advantage of AP testing, that way they can get college credit, I think they're pushing it a little more. I think that now that it's been presented to the entire campus as something that we all want to do, I feel like we're picking up more people who are talking about it who may not have said it before. Right. They may have been sitting in a classroom of kids who they didn't, they may not believe that they're ever going to take AP, or they normally weren't going to take dual credit. They originally thought these two groups were synonymous, that they were the same kids, but they're not. You know,
Right.
these kids who can take this dual credit, if they pass the class, they get the college credit. It's not sitting in a class working hard and doing a lot of these things, and then at the end you take a test, and
Right.
that test decides whether you get that credit or not. Now regular teachers are seeing that, you know what, they can just take the college class,
Right.
and as they're going along, if they pass it, they're going to get college
They're
credit.
getting the credit for
So I
it.
think that it's getting more out there, and as more and more teachers talk about it, then more and more are going to pick up on it as well.
I agree.
Okay, second question. How are these contributions and achievements effectively communicated to the staff, students, and community?
We share these things through campus newsletters, department newsletters, and information on our website. You know, we'll have a corner on the website to talk about the different things that are coming up and the different things that are going on. Where we have the campus improvement plan online, we always want to make sure we've got something on there to kind of show how we're progressing on that. If something comes up, or if we just had a big testing deal with TSI testing, which is, you know, one of the tests the kids take before they can enroll at Lee College to take those dual credit courses, we'll have that online. And that's one of the things to say, well, you know, show the community that we've got these things posted, we're testing the kids, we're giving them the TSI test on campus so that now they can still be on campus to get those dual credit classes. We're removing one more hurdle from them so that they don't have to go out on their own, go take this TSI test at Lee College. They can take it here on campus on our time, and we can make sure that it's done.
Okay. Do you think that there is a disconnect between teachers, administrators, and parents? Do you think this is truly being communicated as to what we're doing good on campus, you know, dual credit? I mean, I'm sure there is a disconnect at different, you know, areas.
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect. We can do what we can do to try to get it out there. I think that we could probably do a better job on presenting the information to the parents on how to access the school, how to access
Right.
the website, how to access these things. I think that on our side, we do a great job as a district making sure they know making sure that we have parent portal set up, that we
Okay.
have websites set up, that we have real-time grading that can go on, that a parent can go on right now, and if I put in a grade now and they log in 30 seconds after me, they will see the exact grade
Right.
that kid has. I think on our end, we do a good job of making sure these things are available
Okay.
and presenting these things. You know, we present the board meeting agenda. It's always online.
Right.
But the thing I feel we can do better is getting out into the community and telling them, here's some things that are available to you.
Right.
You know, I have seniors this year, and I still have parents that I have the same conversation about, hey, have you ever been on the parent portal? Do you know that you can check his attendance every day? Do you know that you can get a reminder if he's marked tardy? You can get an email if he's marked absent. You can get a text message if he's late. You can get a text
Okay.
message if his grade goes below 70. I'm still doing that right now, December of their senior year, and there's still parents who are like, I didn't know that.
So we're communicating it. We have the system in place. It's just the parent involvement needs to probably increase more than us getting it to them. They need to.
I'm sure it's a hard thing to do, especially with our clientele.
It's tough, and you know, talking about athletics, even having booster club meetings, and even when we bring up 8th graders, this that. Sometimes we don't get a lot of parents up here, and so
And
they don't
sometimes
hear the
it's
information.
sometimes it's just because they don't know the face.
Right.
They don't know the face, or the last face that they can remember wasn't pleasant for them.
Sure.
It wasn't a great deal.
Right.
A lot of these parents, the last time they talked to a principal was maybe when they got in trouble back in school,
Right.
or a friend of theirs got in trouble in school, and they just remember that was the principal. They did that. That was what they did. I'm not interested in that. You know, I think they're going to be treating my kid the same way.
Right.
But I think that by getting us out there and having personalities that are welcoming, that are bringing people into the
Right.
fold and saying, here's what we have to offer, we just want to get this information to you, and communicating in more times than just when Billy gets in trouble,
Gotcha.
Right.
or when Billy needs to pay this, or when Billy needs to do this, that we can set up this communication to happen more positively and more frequently.
Right. And that's building relationships. Same
It's
thing.
essentially that's what it is.
How does our campus use innovative thinking, risk-taking, or failures as a learning experience to promote our vision? Do we?
That's one that, you know, the one part I can say is that on the failures as a learning experience, I think that, you know, for myself and the science department that I work with directly, regularly, we take our failures as learning experiences. We as administrators try to do a great job of presenting information not as a failure, but as opportunities for improvement. Because there's such a different conversation that happens when you say your failure rate is high versus your passing rate is low. You know, it seems the same thing. You would think that it's the same deal, but the guard that goes up when you say your failure rate's too high or you fail too many kids versus we want to see more kids passing, we want to see more kids being successful, it just makes a difference. So failures as a learning experience, I think, is a good thing because, you know, all of our information should come from data. All of our information should come from, a lot of our decision making needs to come from what we have in place and how that worked or didn't work. Just coming up with something out of the blue with no data, sometimes, you know, it may not work, but I think you're getting a good roll of the dice to see that. I think in the environment we're in 2015, there's always data on something you can pull. You know,
so ours is terrible in reading and language arts, obviously. Mm-hmm. What are some things we're doing on campus to promote that vision through that data?
Well, with English, I know one position that we have new this year is basically kind of an English coach. Okay. We've got a full-time teacher whose job essentially is to work with English 1 and English 2 teachers to make sure that the instruction that's going on in the class is going to result in better scores on the test at the end. Gotcha. A lot of people say, well, that's just teaching the test. Well, the test is testing what's taught. You know, it's testing the TEKS. If you teach the TEKS, guess what? That's what the test is going to test. So those student expectations are student expectations. If you teach them, that's what's going to be tested. So, you know, essentially, we're always teaching to the test if the test is what's, you know, is going over those student objectives. Right. So that's one big thing that we've done. It takes a lot of resources to make sure that we have an extra person on campus that their sole job is to work with a department. We don't have that anywhere else. Mm-hmm. You know, there's not a science teacher who doesn't have classes all day who goes and works with the biology people. And we don't have that in social studies.
So it's a trial thing that we're doing just with one discipline, or was it because of the data that was so low that we...
Well, the data shows that we need some assistance.
Because the other areas are higher, so we're just doing it in English for now.
Yes.
But it could be something we do in all 4 disciplines at some time?
Well, at the other disciplines, we just got different plans in place.
Okay.
You know, so this one is for English. And so that, for me, that's, you know, in a nutshell, that's one of the biggest things we've done with that English deal. That in addition to PLC, and that in addition to PLC time, making sure we kept that as a priority. When they made this Bell schedule, they had something up there as what are the non-negotiables. And of course, the state mandated time that you have to be in class was number 1. Number 2 was PLC. Right. So that's a decision that's made. That's an intervention that we put together to say we want to make sure that the English teachers have time during the school day to work with each other to make sure that the instruction that's going on in the classroom is in line with the student expectations and therefore can help raise the scores that we have. The thing we're doing in biology, which is a little different, is we've given biology teachers a second period that they're not assigned a class, but they have been assigned to co-teach with another teacher. Okay. And we try to use the verb dual teaching, because co-teaching initially comes off as the special ed program that was in place, where you've got another teacher who comes in who may be certified in behavior, who may be certified in math, who may be certified in many different subjects, but we're going to send them into physics, and they're going to be there to help with the kids who are, you know, special ed kids. Now, of course, they're going to help everyone so no one's singled out, but their main job is to help those kids who the state and the art committee has said does need extra help in those classes for 30 minutes a week, 60 minutes a week, so on and so forth. Dual teaching is having another teacher who is certified in that content area going in and teaching that subject with another teacher. So 2 fully certified biology teachers in a classroom teaching biology.
Are they enjoying that? Is that working for them?
This had a hard time in the beginning, because good teachers aren't used to other people being in their classrooms, and they're just not used to it. They just think
I don't know if I'd want to do that, truth be told.
And so in the beginning, that the knee jerk reaction was, well, what am I doing wrong? Where you have to send somebody else in there.
Right.
And it took a lot of work for us to develop this deal that it's not what you're doing wrong. You know, I give them the example of, you know, let's say at Exxon, you're going through and you got a really great presenter coming in, and he's top notch. He's been all over the world. He's doing this, but you only have a room that holds 50 people, but you got 100 people who you need to you know, train. You want to let hear this person. Do you go off and hire somebody else to, you know, a sub for this other room, and they get those 50 people? Do they do that there? No, they don't do that there. They find some kind of video system and they put him in a room of 100 people that'll hold 100 people.
Right.
And he puts his video deal on, so he's on the big screen, and everybody can see him, and everybody can see the best things that we have
Gotcha.
all the time. Instead of, well, you guys just have to go over here, and who goes over there? It's just a
Right.
crapshoot of who's going to get this. If I can put both of my best people, and once I get them, you know, we have this conversation of what your strengths are and what your strengths are. What if we could put those things together?
Sure.
What if I know you're really, really good in objectives 1, 3, and 5, and I know last year, look at your data, you really kicked butt in 2 and 4. So let's get together and see if
Right.
we can get you to work on some of the things that you were doing for 1, and let's see if you can do some of the things that you were doing for 2, and let's see if we can put those together to
from
get
each other.
just a big kick butt lesson. After a couple of weeks, they come back and they tell us how much they've learned from each other.
Right.
They've talked about how they're almost finishing each other's sentences.
Sure.
They talk about how something we all know as teachers, we can come in and we can talk about something till we're blue in the face. But you have one guest speaker come in, one district helping teacher come in, say the exact same thing that you think you've been talking about all week, and now all of a sudden all light bulbs are going off.
Now
And kids
they
are like,
get it.
oh, well,
Right.
Miss Carroll, why didn't you just say that? And
Right.
you know, you want to hit somebody and say, you know,
Yeah.
I've been saying that all week.
Right.
But sometimes just hearing the exact same thing from someone else,
Sure.
or their take on it, or their inflection, or their verbiage,
Their demeanor
Just makes it
right,
different.
Their stature. Sure.
and so by them working together, they've seen that, you know what, you do well on these kind of things. When it comes to numbers and it comes to making sure everybody's sitting in their rows and doing this, you do a great job. When it comes to the part where you got to get real animated to show this, how these molecules work together and show how the temperature rises and they start shaking and everything, this person doesn't like doing that. They're
Right.
not interested in that. But Mr. Kraft over here, he doesn't care. He's out there. You know, he's animated. He's out. You know, he's making a big deal out of it, and those kids get it. They get the real serious from the person who's able to sit down and do that part, and they get the part where the presenter needs to be real animated and out of their seat. They get both of those things. So, in the beginning, yes, we had some difficult conversations because people were worried that somebody's in their room because they think
Sure.
they're doing something wrong.
Just weren't receptive.
But once we establish that it's dual teaching, and we're just trying to bring the best items from both people together, it's made a huge difference.
Okay, last question. Going back to the campus vision, how does the campus vision impact morale?
And how is our morale?
And how is our morale? Right.
Well, you know, that's a good question. I think overall, I'm going to start with the how is the morale part. I believe our morale is good, but the morale question is it's in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
You can go down one hallway and
Sure.
it's doom and gloom.
Right,
You go to one
right.
teacher's class and it couldn't get any worse.
Right.
But you go other places and they're like, this is the best it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just overall, as a whole, I've got to take that vision. I've got to take that part and say, how is the morale overall? And overall, I think we have a very good morale.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some people in some spots who were upset, but you know what? They were upset last year. They were upset with the last administration. And, when I first got here, they
Right.
talked about what was going on before I got here. So
Right.
sometimes people are it's part of their personality, it's part of their demeanor
Mm-hmm.
to point out what could be better.
Sure.
And I feel like that's a good way to say that.
Coach
Is that
Smith
there-
said in the last interview we had that, and I was talking about everybody being patted on the back, we have to have 100%, but you're still going to have those teachers and in a negative way that probably should not be in the profession anymore. It's changed a little bit, and we'll always have those teachers everywhere.
Yep, there's always going to be somebody who feels like their job is to point out what could be better.
Right.
And those people are valued. They have their place if everybody was, on board, then maybe we would miss something.
Right.
Maybe we'd miss an opportunity somewhere to get better if somebody wasn't trying to point out every single thing that,
Sure.
that we didn't have a solution for. I think there's some ways to help, improve that morale, and how the vision ties into that is our principal and academic dean try to acknowledge individuals through emails, faculty meetings, have them stand up if your group did something, try to give them that recognition.
Sure.
It seems trivial at times, and sometimes people don't realize what that means, but the person who doesn't get called, it means a lot to them.
Right.
For the people who win all the time and they get it, and they, you tell them to stand up and wave, sometimes they feel like, oh, well, let's just stand up and wave. But don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it one day.
Sure.
Find you 6 weeks of not giving that little praise or that kudos and that little thing that you think is just, and they'll even tell you, oh, no, it's nothing. You don't have to do that. Well, don't do it and watch what happens.
Right. We all need a smile and a pat on the back.
It's going to be a different ball game.
No matter what anyone says.
Administrators who supervise each content area, they have their different ways of celebrating things with their own departments. I'm big on writing notes. I send thank you notes to my team, something handwritten. Before school every year, I try to make sure that I, break in their room the night before, leave a little something to say, hey, about to start the year. Congratulations, glad to have you back, and let's get to it. Calling people in just to have regular conversation. Does a tremendous amount to alleviate a lot of things that could be out there swirling.
Not about negativity.
You just have them come on in. Have them come on in, and if you got something to say or you want to talk, just come on in.
Right.
Now, we do that a lot. We do that a lot with our department. I try to make sure that every few weeks that I've talked to everyone.
Right. Well, again, we say this, it's still about building relationships. From administrators to teachers and teachers to students, it's all about communication, building relationships.
And that's it. With this whole deal, we had a little situation with a move for me earlier this year. And so people have asked me, well, it's off subject, but my mom saw some of the stuff. She saw some of the videos and that, and she was like, I didn't think that happened in real life. I thought that was just some stuff off of TV that all these kids would get together, do something like that,
sure.
and have a video made and all these things. She didn't understand that happened. So a lot of people have come in and out since then and kind of said, well, what do you think it is? Well, one of the big things is just treating people with respect.
Right.
Just treating them with respect. It sounds simple, but people don't understand what you got to think about what you're about to say. How would you feel with that same information presented to you in the same format?
Right.
These kids won't tell you that they had me out there yelling at them or making them feel bad or talking down to them or anything like that. It's, hey, I've got a job to do. If you make a bad decision, there's going to be consequences that come with it.
Right.
But we talk about that versus me, just trying to lay into them to think that by degrading them, it's going to somehow make this a better situation. It's a bad situation regardless.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Now let's see how we can move on for it.
Right.
So.
Well, good. Appreciate you greatly,
sir.
Mr. Jillings, and that works for me.
We're good. Thank you.
Hi, this is Greg Smith again. This will be my reflection from the two videos that you just saw in my participation portion, where we interviewed Mr. Curl and Mrs. Duhan regarding our campus vision and some different aspects of how a school creates that culture of that vision, how they portray that vision, how they involve the community and the kids and the parents in that vision, and different things that we think may or may not improve our school as far as what that vision goes. So I'm going to start with reflecting a little bit on the first video, which was Mrs. Duhan. Again, Mrs. Duhan is our CTE specialist. She is also in charge of our Health Science Academy, which is something that I'm a part of as well, teaching in the Health Science Academy. A lot of the things that Mrs. Duhan talked about was about culture of the school. And she was very positive about how the school's culture is, that that it's a good place to be, and there's a lot of good things that go on here at Sterling High School. But she also said we don't necessarily portray that culture the way it should be, that we're still in the process of improving that culture. And we talked about the vision a little bit as far as what our vision is. And I remembered vividly from our earlier faculty meetings at the very beginning of school where it was very easily portrayed as college ready. And our principal at our school, Mr. Foxworth, has done a really good job of making sure that the faculty is very well aware of that's our vision, that we want to make sure that every kid gets out of Sterling High School ready for college and even has college hours already on their record as they go. But also with that said, you look on our website for Sterling High School and it's not there. And that's part of what we also talked about with Ms. Duhan, that we had pulled up the quote-unquote mission statement, which may or may not be the exact same thing as what's supposed to be our vision, but that mission statement is different from being college ready. It was more talking about, being ready to enter society and being a productive member, the normal cliche of what people say about making sure they're going to be productive citizens in our community and in our society. But nowhere on there on our website does it even state that our goal and our vision is to make sure that these students are college ready and have those credit hours as they leave Sterling High School. So I thought she had some really good things to say about the culture of our high school. I thought the interaction between myself, Coach Guerreri, and Ms. Duhan what was very good in regards to the culture. When we started kind of getting off topic a little bit and going towards morale of the school, which obviously does have to do with the vision, but then we started talking about the scheduling and some issues we have with other schools in the district and how that has kind of brought our mentality, our morale down, and some things that could or could not change on campus, which kind of got away from the overall topic of campus vision, but still made for some very good conversation and participation between the three of us in that meeting. She also talked, I thought some of the good things she talked about was the reward system that we don't really have in place. Some things she really talked about is, we don't have teacher of the week. We don't have teacher of the month. We have one teacher of the year at the end of the year. We don't necessarily have teachers rewarded for their efforts and their achievements quite as much as she would like to see, and also with the kids. The kids right now, we're just starting to get some things in place, like perfect attendance, having a pep rally. And we brought in, a local college to do like a dunk contest. We brought in some local dance crews. That's kind of a cool thing apparently with kids these days. So those are some things that we did as a campus trying to improve those things. Where she talked about different campuses that she's been on and some things that they've done to create that morale and help the kids and the teachers to successfully like being at school and like being at work and helping them work better together as an entire unit. Something that then I started talking about was, the only things we do have on campus that gets teacher recognition is, our dance team, the Stars, do a Teacher of the Month and the end of year Teacher of the Year award. Those are the only two things we currently have. So I thought that was kind of a great conversation, talking about if our vision is to be college ready and we still want to build that culture and our teachers need to have that mentality, but our leadership still doesn't necessarily help those teachers motivate them. And that led to a conversation that also talked about, should a teacher be motivated? Isn't kind of part of what we do to suck it up and get our job done because it's still about the kids, which I'm somewhat indifferent. I'm not the kind of person that needs that motivation. I feel like it comes with my mentality that I grew up with, to do your job and do it to the best of your ability. And I know that my job is about kids, both in the classroom and on the basketball court, and I'm going to make sure those get done. I don't need somebody to pat me on the back. But at the same time, even in the second interview with Mr. Curl, then he said, well, some of those people who do have more of an pessimistic mentality still have a place in a school of this size. They can still offer some good things. So some of those people still need a pat on the back from time to time. So I thought that was kind of an interesting difference between the first meeting that we had and the second meeting we had with Mr. Curl in talking about the differences between those two types of teachers. And even you'll see at the, or I'm sure you already saw on the end of the first one with Ms. Duhan, my original mentality was, well, if they're going to be that kind of person, we don't need them. Then that's a person we can get rid of from this campus. But then when you say those same types of things in the second one to Mr. Curl, his mentality was significantly different. Like, they still can have a place here, just have to make sure you get them on that same page and get those puzzle pieces working well together, so it's still the best possible opportunity for the kids, because they still have something to offer. Just have to, work with them. And again, sometimes you do have to pat them on the back and give them those rewards and make sure things, go according to what they want and what they need. Something I also found interesting from Ms. Duhans was we talked about what are some innovative things that our campus is doing to meet this goal of college ready and this campus vision of college ready and having credits, and looking at data, which I know is part of our current course at Lamar. Looking at that data, our ELA and reading scores are the worst, is our lowest achieving area. And based on that, we have actually hired a teacher to be a literacy coach. And her sole job is to help kids and help teachers with whatever needs to be done just on our campus alone. She was previously a teacher on campus with extremely high scores, did a great job working with other kids, and she really does a good job apparently. And I didn't even know we had her, truth be told. I knew she was on campus. I didn't know what her job title was, since I'm not an English language arts teacher. Her sole job is to help with that subject area and that content area, again, trying to meet this campus vision and goal of getting these kids college ready. So the ones that are really struggling in that content area now have somebody to help the teachers help the kids, or her, also be on the side to help the kids as well. So I thought that was something that I didn't even know was occurring on our campus, which is obviously an innovative way and a creative way of thinking, and even part of risk taking for something that hasn't been done on this campus. So it is a risk to take that teacher out of the classroom and create a new position, such as a literacy coach, to help promote that vision of college ready. So then again, after Ms. Duhan's conversation, then we went over to Mr. Curl's office and had a conversation with him in the same regards with the same types of questions. A lot of the things that were stated between the two were very similar, such as the literacy coach I just got done talking about. Mr. Curl said the same thing. When I asked about what are ways that we are trying to help our lower content areas, that was the first thing he stated as well, was talking about that literacy coach. But a big part of what Mr. Curl also talked about in regards to us meeting that goal of being college ready was our new system of co-teaching. As the senior assistant principal, he's also in charge of our science department. Well, within our science department, obviously the end of course testing is biology. So in order to help our biology scores to improve, which were not that bad to begin with, he started calling it dual teaching as opposed to co-teaching. So instead of just one teacher being in that classroom to help modify a special ed student's behavior, or to help just one or two students, we have dual teachers that'll come in, and they specified when they looked at the data, our administration looked at the data and said, this teacher is really good in these content and these objectives, this teacher is really good at these objectives, let's combine them together to one class. They can dual teach these classes, so therefore our students should be higher achieving across the board, which again, I was unaware we were doing this on our campus, and being a science teacher, I think it's a great idea. Back probably, mid-90s, I was one of the first ones to have a co-teach class in Katy ISD. And I was the pilot for 7th grade co-teach with the special ed kids in there. So I remember having that teacher, and that teacher's job, from what we knew at the time, was essentially help those special ed kids, especially the extremely special ed kids who needed behavior modifications and had to be walked out of class when they would have their spells, so on and so forth. And that teacher's job wasn't so much to help them with the content. That was still my job. Their job was the behavior part of it. Also, with that being said, then, I've also been in the classroom here where it was co-taught, where it was the same kind of idea, whereas, a coach, and I'm a coach, so I'm not really downing a coach, but they were put as a special ed teacher, and they would co-teach, and some days they would be at art meetings, some days they would be in the classroom, some days they wouldn't. So it wasn't the most consistent situation to be in, but it still helped. So with Mr. Curl talking about this dual teaching thing, I was actually really intrigued and impressed that we actually are doing these things to help those scores improve from his standpoint, his department of science. He also talked a lot about some things we did to promote College Ready and this vision that we have for the campus, such as College Career Day. He says we send out newsletters, our website. He said, though, that the biggest problem we have still is communicating to these parents how to use this technology that we have. He said it's really easy to tell the kids, in class meetings and so on and so forth, and post posters all over the wall, but parents just have a hard time, or even taking the time to access a website, to look at grades, to open up statements and documents and things of that nature. So he said that seems to be the biggest obstacle. And Coach Guerreri had some good things to say when we talked about disconnect between, teachers, faculty, admin, and the school, and parents and home and community, as far as these things go. So again, he also talked a lot about PLC time and the using of PLC time, which really lent back to Mrs. Duhan's conversation where we first talked about our morale kind of down due to our scheduling. We're currently, we made a new schedule this year as far as a modified block goes, and a lot of teachers are having a difficult time, with their conference periods and complaining and things of that nature. And then when we talked to Mr. Curl about the scheduling and things like that, he talked about PLC time being so huge for us to team together, especially for some of those lower achieving groups like English Language Arts and the science biology, and those groups to really have that time. So when we sit down, when the admin sits down and talks about things that we have to have, the non-negotiables for a new schedule, he said that time was the second non-negotiable. I mean, the first one was obviously the number of minutes the students have to be in class. The second was PLC time. That was something that the admin decided we have to have and we have to keep in that system. So I thought that was a good interaction between us and Mr. Curl's meeting that also related back to the same topic, talking with Mrs. Duhan. Overall, I thought it was very productive to have these two different participation meetings and to interact with two different administrators from different content areas and different specialties, still relating to the topic of our entire campus and how we can improve it, or how it has been improved, and the path that we're on for our campus. Overall, I still believe we're doing a good job. I think our leadership on campus does a good job talking about what our campus vision is. Like I said, I knew what it was very easily, but I still think we can improve by putting that more out there online. I'm not a big social media guy, but that obviously is part of, these parents and these kids' lives these days, and that might be something that can be thought about as well. Just making everybody aware that College Ready is our campus vision, and all the different things that we can do to promote that on the outside, as well as the strategies and things to get these kids motivated enough to do well in these classes, and to take those classes that will gain them the college credit and be more prepared for life after Sterling High School, and hopefully, get them onto a successful life to go back to that, same mentality of a productive citizen, but make them a productive citizen prepared for it through their education after high school. So again, this is the reflection for my video number 2, participation, option number 1, Gregory Smith, Lamar ID L20400619. Thank you.